And welcome to another edition of the pod, powered by the Southeastern Sports Network. I'm Mark Willoughby, and joined by former Lion legend Robbie Mahfouz, also our color analyst. And tonight we have another special edition of what we're calling the Lions Legend Series, where we celebrate the great Southeastern players of the past, particularly before the return of football. I want to bring those stories back to life so we can take them into the future and bridge the gap. And tonight we're pleased to be joined by one of the most intelligent, intense Lions to ever don the green and gold, and that's former Southeastern linebacker Mark Millet, a 4-year letterman and 3-year starter from 1978 when he first arrived at Southeastern through 1982. Mark, glad to have you with us.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all having me.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're from Crowley, right?
Right.
Brother played at McNeese, is that right?
Right. Brother was a quarterback at McNeese.
So how did that come about? How'd you end up at Southeastern?
It's a long story, but a very short story in itself. You got to be recruited to go somewhere. And at 5'11", 185 pounds, a linebacker or tight end in high school, I had one offer, and that was at Tyler Junior College in Texas.
Wow.
And I just had a talk with my dad and one day, and he said, I don't know what you're going to do, but you need to find another school to go to, or you're going to have to reprove yourself in 2 years. And if you go to a 4-year school, you'll have already been there 2 years, and you can see what happens. And, ultimately he was right. And McNeese was very honest with me and, told me, hey, you're too small. And then, of course, they had some, that's when they were going to the Independence Bowl a couple of years. And I had a teammate who signed with him, was a very good football player, linebacker for him, Mike Smith. USL recruited and up to a certain point, and then I never heard from him again. So that ought to tell you that story. So when we played him in '81, I was a very happy human being to leave Lafayette with a win.
That's right. That's of course.
So Coach Ken McGee showed up recruiting at Crowley and told me that they had no more scholarships because the last one they were signing was a kid from Jennings. And the funny part is he was a linebacker also, and he didn't show up when we showed up in the fall. And Coach Brewer was very honest with me and told me, if you do some things, we'll see. And I always laugh about it. I said, at the end of the first semester, he gave me room. At the end of the second semester, I got room in a black lab puppy. And after that, we were okay. And that's how I ended up with it right there.
That's a great story in itself. Always seems like Coach McGee seems to be in the middle of
great guy, great human being.
No doubt. I think Coach McGee spent about 20 years watching practice every week in the fall. He's somebody we need to have on eventually as well. But he's just a great guy, isn't he? Yeah,
he is. He's just a super guy. Of course, all those guys who coached us at Southeastern, I have the ultimate respect for. How can you not say that Oscar Lofton isn't one of the finest human beings you've ever met in your life? How can you say T.C. Calmes wasn't one of the finest human beings you met in your life? Ken McGee. I love Bob Ricketts. He was on the offensive side as the offensive coordinator, but he'd always call me into his office to tell stories to me. And I love listening to them old stories from Mississippi. He was a good human being. Sonny Hill, another one on the offensive side, just a great guy. Ken Keneally. You had Coach Brewer. Coach Torbush, Coach Youngblood, all those guys, they treated me very good. If somebody ever wants me to say anything bad about Southeastern, they've come to the wrong place. I have nothing bad to say about Hammond or Southeastern, never will.
It's hard for anybody to say anything bad about Hammond. I mean, it's home for me, obviously, and Southeastern's it's kind of been my life the last few years as far as doing radio and that sort of thing. But since you brought him up already, I want to go into it. But you talked about Coach Lofton. I know you started under Coach Brewer, but you finished under Coach Lofton your last 3 years. Just what did he mean to you as a player, just as a coach, as I'm sure a father figure and that sort of thing? Just talk about Oscar Lofton, if you would.
he was such a good human being when sometimes me or some we're not as good a human beings as we should have been. And he understood. He understood sitting you down and talking to you. He understood taking you and basically coming down to the last second sometimes of teaching you a lesson. And I'm going to tell you, he might have been laid back. He might have been quiet, but there was a toughness about Coach Lofton that a lot of people underestimated. I never did. I think because I had a total trust in him. But I knew that tough man. He had a toughness, something that I just don't think a lot of people realize. Where TC was a little more gruffer, but as fair as he could be. Sometimes I didn't hear from Coach Lofton a lot because he worked with the offense more as a head coach. And where probably Coach Brewer, when I had him, was a little bit more probably on the defensive side and kind of hung out with I say hung out. He probably paid a little bit more attention to details on that side. And but both of them are good people.
Hey, I'd ask John the same question week about the difference between playing for Billy and Oscar, and Mark hit the nail on the head there. Oscar was a different type of head coach. We'd run through a wall for him. He gave you your space. He let you do, and while at the same time keeping you in line. And that we had a lot of different personalities. I was only there for 1 year, and I can just my year there were a lot of different personalities to deal with, and Coach did a hell of a job, getting everybody, on the same page. And I was just blessed to be able to work with him for a year. I did want to ask Mark this. Talk about how Doc Goodwin influenced your life and everybody else's during that time period.
I got to tell you, Doc Goodwin had more influence on me at Southeastern than anybody. It was probably because I had to spend so much time in the training room between practices and what it meant to me when I couldn't go home one summer. I needed to be in summer school. And guess what? He put me up in his house, in a room, fed me, took care of things, made sure I wasn't an irresponsible idiot, and that I went to class and that I got everything done I needed to do. He did that not only for me. I can tell you, from the time he got there and probably 73, 74, somewhere in there, probably until the time that he left, there are more athletes at Southeastern that are in debt to him than anyone. And he treated us like sons, like brothers, like players. He almost treated me like I was an athlete sometimes.
Doc Goodwin's another legend that's gone way too soon. I mean, rest in peace, yeah. Doc Goodwin. Love him. I think anybody ever came into contact with him will tell you exactly the same thing. And of course, I had a lot of dealings with him over the years, and just an outstanding human, no doubt. And appreciate you asking about Doc Goodwin, Robbie, because I know it seems to be forgotten sometimes. And how can you? Because he was part of everybody's life.
Yeah, I like I said, I was only there for a year, and he got on my ass enough in that 1 year, to last a lifetime, trying to make me better. And he was that guy that knew when to push you and knew when to pat you on the back, and just another Southeastern guy that we wouldn't be who we are today without him, without being in contact with him.
Amen on that. Mark, let's talk about, obviously, your time on the field at Southeastern. I know you got here in 78, you redshirted, got on the field some in 79, 1980. First year Southeastern transitions out of Division II into Division I. Oscar often takes over as head coach. You guys are on a chartered plane. We talked about this last week with Johnny Wells, but you're on the plane to Boise to open up the season. Very first game as a Division I team. Just talk about that experience. I think we all know what happened in that game, but had to be kind of wild, huh?
Yeah, the one thing that I remember, and I don't know if anybody else does, is we went from practicing in 105 heat index to going up there where, 50 degrees and breezy and wet and we're like Labrador retrievers. Everybody's tongues were out and we were enjoying it and we were ready. And I don't know if they were ready for us. I've never seen a team go to a place and take somebody down like that and be a part of it. They had no reason to suspect it was going to happen. But I think the game plan our coaches had offensively, look, I think we scored 17 points in that game, but we held the ball for a long time. Defensively, it was as good a game plan. He was sending us. We had people all over the field running, playing, enjoying it. It was wild. It was wild, and the plane ride back was great. I can still remember people at school when we showed back up, and it was early in the morning. Probably, I don't know. There's a lot of great wins at Southeastern, and some of them, a few of them were when I was playing. I can think of Boise in the Northeast game with the big comeback, and there was a couple one that people forget about, a comeback against Troy. There's a few games, but that one at Boise, especially when at the end of the year when they won the national championship. So you really had to appreciate it. And, we nipped a few people early in that season that were ranked. Illinois State, who they playing this week, was one of them on a naked bootleg by JW, by Johnny Wells. And Johnny, Johnny was not. Johnny outran the guy to the corner. Johnny should not have outrun the guy to the corner. There's Johnny Wells. There's Johnny Wells for you.
Yeah.
He did what he had to do to be a winner. So, we beat a good Jackson State team, a good wishbone Jackson State team. Beat a good East Tennessee State team that had beat the hell out of us the year before.
Yeah, that's the crowd right behind me you're looking at. That's from that game, East Tennessee State game.
Really?
So that's how many people were that's on the visitor side. So packed house. It shows you how different things are now. But
I know. I see that boy, and I tell you, I remember some games like that. Our student section was something, and they were right behind the visitors bench. So I used to hear some good stories going to class with some of them guys of what they had done, but I enjoyed it.
Now, rumor has it, you mentioned that Northeast game, 50-47, 1981. Fall behind, what was it, Robbie?
Well, I think it was 31-7 at one time.
Something like that. And
it was I think it was 40 to 20. One maybe even at one time. That was
why don't y'all ask me? Why don't y'all ask me? I know all that.
Well, but the legend has it that you got to start coming back, and they keep scoring, and you go up to Mark on the bench. And what'd you ask him?
Well, it was Mark's right. It was 31-7 with about 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. We cut it to 31-21, and there was still time left in the third quarter, and then. They scored twice and made it 40-21, and with about 11 minutes left in the game, and we cut it to 40-35. And there's still 6 minutes left, and they went down and scored again. And I told Mark, I said, if y'all could maybe stop them once, I think we got a shot at this game. And we took it down and cut it to 47-42, And sure enough, defense went out there and made a stop, and we ended up winning the ball game. Yeah, but I said, Mark, I mean, good God Almighty, let's try to stop them one time. And
hey, man, it was a great defensive game the last 2 minutes
Yeah.
of the game. Other than that, I don't know if we existed.
But sometimes that's all it takes, right? Just one stop, just rise up and get them. That's
that's what it took. And I think about that from time to time, and we got the ball back, Mark. There was still 5 minutes left in the game. That's how quickly the stuff happened that ball game.
Yeah.
And we didn't even have to call a timeout on the last drive. There was 5 minutes left in the game. I mean, and we scored with a minute and a half left, and the defense had to go back out there, and they went 4 and out. And that was a ball game.
Yeah. There was only 4 and out in that game. It might have been only 3 and out.
Judge.
Wait, here's the one. I got to say this. I don't know. You know this guy. Well, you know him. I'm sure he's around. Alan Wozniak.
Oh, yeah. We had Alan on a couple weeks ago.
I got to tell you, the guy was the defensive player of a game.
He made sure to tell us that.
Well, but I always told him, I said, I'm glad they gave that to you and nobody else.
Oh, man. Woz is great, man. We had him on a few weeks ago, and just he had a lot of the same stories, and what a treat to have him on. As well, sharing his story about how he got to Southeastern. It's always, of course, players come and go from everywhere, all points in between. Just talk about the relationships you made. You're from Crowley. Robbie kind of grew up here, then moved away, Lafayette. But you guys had guys from all over, kind of like they do now. Just talk about that brotherhood,
right?
How players come together, rally around each other, and it's a fraternity.
At Southeastern, when I got there, I didn't know a soul. I didn't know one human being. And the thing I'm most proud of is, 5 years down the line, where you are, and with people that you really didn't know at the beginning. And I always credit, the seniors that we had when I first got there. I had a couple of them that were very good to me, man. Bobby Morse, Arnold Scheck-Snyder, Mike Lemon, they were good. They were good guys. Just when nobody's talking to you because you're on the scout team, and sometimes you got to do things and they don't like it because you got to make a name for yourself, and so they don't talk to you or they shun you or whatever. But those guys, they didn't, and we had some really good football players then, and I think our DBs the whole time I was there, from the time
loaded, huh?
I got there to the time I left, I could list them. I could list 12 of them, and probably 5 or 6 of them had a shot in the NFL.
Talk about them. That's the reason we do this. Bring those
I'm going to tell you, when I first got there, Bobby Morse, Donald Dykes, Herman Colley, Anthony Vereen. They had a guy named Foggy Bryant, Richard Bryant, called him Foggy. He was a blind cornerback. That's how I always put it. Cedric Patton. You had John Farlow, Armando Whitlock, man. He came in with me. I mean, that guy strokey. John Farlow from Denham Springs. Kurt Griffin from Plaquemine. Mm-hmm. That guy got drafted in baseball and also went to a camp in football. He was a hell of an athlete. He could run like a deer. Mm-hmm. They also had a couple of guys that when I was leaving, they were freshmen, with Tim Whaley and Kershal Bird. 2 guys from Dothan High School. They were good guys. They were really, David McGee was a guy who could run from Franklinton. The DBs. The linebackers I came in with, were Mark Stubbs and Furman Gaucher. They were very good, just good guys, good teachers. Eddie Gibson. People forget about Eddie Gibb. Mm-hmm. Russell Schmidt. They came later. Ray Henderson. I mean, these guys.
Joe English, you mentioned off the air.
Yeah, I don't mind telling you, and I'm not too proud to say it, but I don't know if I play it down if all these guys stay healthy the whole time they're at Southeastern. And I'm serious. I'm serious as a heart attack. You had Ray Henderson at 6'2", 6'3", 230. Russell Schmidt, at 220. Gip. Some of these guys had knee injuries coming back off the things. All of a sudden, you have an opportunity, and you're just trying to get in there, and things happen good for you, but it's not good for them. And they were good friends. But I'll say this: all those guys were probably much better products of what people were looking for. And I think I coached for 30-some years. So they probably better looking products of what a coach would be looking for than I would have been. I promise you.
Well, you were good enough to be the team captain. I know that. So I guess you and Ronnie Doyle back in the day.
Yeah.
So obviously there was a lot of respect for you and your leadership.
Well, I appreciate it. We tried to do what we could do, and I had more fun at that place than any time in my life. I had a great time. There's nothing I would trade for it. People could offer you $1 million. I'd still go to Southeastern. And if they told me that we were in the NIL and I could do it, and I asked Moff this one time, he said the same thing. Would you leave? No, I wouldn't. Give me a $5 bar tab and I'm done.
Yeah, what do you think about that? I mean, both of you.
What?
Talk about it. NIL, portal.
I think they got it all. I think they got it screwed up. I do. That's just me. I can remember my brother when he went to McNeese. He got laundry money. He got, I think, $15 a month.
Ooh.
Yeah. And like he said, that $15 never went to anybody's laundry. I promise you. But I don't like the transfer. I don't think anybody. I can't imagine going to 5-6 places in 5 or 6 years. Where's the camaraderie? Where's the team? What happened to athletic dormitories? Where you lived together, where you had football in one floor, baseball in another, basketball, where you saw those guys and you went to their games. You went to baseball games. You went to basketball games. You knew everybody. Some guys were dual sport athletes, and what happened to all that? But everybody leaves. I can't imagine not having these guys as my teammates and only knowing them for 1 year when you got to know some of them for 5, some of them, playing with them for 4, 3, 2. I don't know. I think something's wrong with it. I think they need to do some reflecting and figure it out. Now, the money part, I think there needs to be something equal if you're going to have a team. You got 2 guys that make $1 million and the guys that block for them get what, 20,000. If that's what, what it is. Now 20,000 for us would have been,
right.
Would have hit the jackpot. But I don't think that paying, I ain't going to say I wouldn't have taken money, Who wouldn't have? I guess. I mean, I don't know if I can't blame a 20-year-old kid. And I always say, man, they got to be smart. They got to put their money up. Well, at 20, I wasn't putting no money up.
Nobody
I was spending it. Everybody was spending it. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I think they're going down. I think the transferring, how it is ridiculous. You can't even pull for a team. You can't even look at a team and say, hey, I remember that guy when he was at Miami. Now he's at Florida State, and now he's at Virginia Tech, and now he's over here. And that's 4 years in a row. I was so happy when Tulane beat Duke this year because the quarterback from Tulane went to Duke.
Yeah.
And they played. You know what? Tulane's still Tulane over there. They leave. So, I mean, why not stay? And as a coach, you got to try to make this thing as fair as you can. And you almost want to make it where you almost have to have some leverage with the kids, or you're going to, if they stay here 3 years, let's give them this. If they stay here 2 years, let's give them this. That's
kind of what Frankie does, Mark. That's kind of what Frank does. Frank pays his guys that stay. That's what he does.
Well, I think that's a smart thing. If you're going to be in this stuff, that's what you need to do. Do it like that.
Well, think about this team we have now: Caleb Proctor, KK Reno, guys like that who started out here, had a chance to leave. I know back in 22, after the 22 season, you had 8 guys leave. They weren't ready for it, and it kind of caught up to them. Had the bad 23, and then of course now just trying to take care of the guys that have been with you. And of course, you look out there and you got a ton of seniors. You got 24 seniors. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
24 seniors anymore.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing. Man, I tell you, I like that defensive lineman they got. All of them. That defense is pretty stout. They play good football. They play good football. And having a couple guys behind center too doesn't hurt. So that's a good thing. I would always liked our quarterbacks.
Yeah, they both did a good job.
Well, I appreciate that.
I got one quarterback.
Hey, even when we had to kick you in the head, but again, we'll go past that.
Yeah, get him to tell you that story.
Oh, we'll get to hear it. That's what we're here for.
We're at spring practice and we have our spring game, and by tradition, we had our spring game at is it Covington High School, Mark?
Yeah, it was Covington.
Well, the tradition was the night before the game, everybody goes to New Orleans. And I didn't go. I mean, I ain't got but 1 year, and I said, I'm not going. We got a game tomorrow. So everybody shows up at the game and not in a very good disposition. And anyway, we're scrimmaging, and I take off on a scramble, and of course, I find the nearest boundary, and Millet's about to come, tackle me, and I go out of bounds and slide, and he tries to kick me in the head because I didn't let him hit me. And I think they dressed him down a little bit, for doing that. But, that's how we played at that point. I do want to say this about Mark. When I got there, I was like him. I didn't know. I knew Greg Damiano. I went to school with him in grade school. I didn't know anybody, and I get over there and get out of my car, and he's the first guy that comes up to me, and he says, "Are you Mahfouz?" And I said, "Yeah." And he introduced himself, told me he was from Crowley. He knew I was from Lafayette, and told me he played linebacker, which, after looking him up and down, I said, well, if you say so. But anyway, I was very gracious for him to do that. He didn't have to do that. And, he took me into his group of guys and made me feel right at home right off the bat. And I've always appreciated that.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have many people from that side of the Mississippi River on the Southeastern, and you were the second one to come after Jeff Coates had left, and there was nobody else.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd have to have a ride home sooner or later.
Yeah.
Ulterior motive, huh? That's great. That's a good story. Well, Mark, tell everybody what you're doing now. Since I know a lot of the players know that you keep in contact with, but Southeastern fans that watch this, that followed your career back then, what's going on with you now?
Well, I retired from coaching. I coached the last school I coached at was Vanderbilt Catholic in Houma.
Oh yeah,
and I was gonna step away and go out for good, but I was offered a job as a PE teacher, no coaching, going back into the public school because there was a critical shortage.
Yeah.
Where you have your retirement and you go back and I'm teaching pre-K through fifth grade PE, so it's a little bit different than what I'm used to. I really don't scream as much, or there's not a whole lot to do. I laugh a lot more. I know that. It's pretty enjoyable. It's the first time in my career, I guess, that I remember going home and telling my wife, I've never barbecued on a Wednesday during football season after school. And there I am, flipping some burgers on the pit, and it's just a different animal. But sometimes I miss it, but there's a lot of times, most of the time, we spend a lot of time away from our families, spend a lot of time away from our children, and a lot of years on the road too, doing a lot of things. And I think I got a couple more years of doing this, and then I'll step away and I'll be done. It'll be just vacation then.
That's awesome. Good stuff. You got anything else you want to share?
Well,
sign off?
I would like to tell you, the guys that I played with, the respect I had for them, the respect I had for, even position. Because I must say, because I was always, as a coach, harder on my quarterbacks than anybody, because I expected them to be as tough as linebackers or DBs, and they were quarterbacks. And, I looked at Robbie and everybody, I can say this with a smile on my face. He was tough, He could move his feet around in the pocket and do things, and he's probably the best quarterback that we had there. I can tell you this, Johnny Wells might have been the greatest leader I've ever been around. And I don't even know why, other than the fact that he knew what to say to you at the right time. And when the guy's at quarterback and you're on the defensive side, and that's the guy that's telling you something positive and good, it's just pretty impressive when you think about it now. He was a good leader. I don't know if anybody remembers Charlie Hebert. Mm-hmm. Charlie was a competitor, man. Charlie could go, and Scott Allen. Everybody forgets about Scott. Scott Allen could step in and fill in, and what a great punter, But he was a good quarterback too. I was always impressed with all them guys. People laugh because they forget about this too. Punters. We had James Magruder, Scott Allen, Brett Wright.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Those might be the three greatest punters in the history of that school. Right there in a row. Kickers. Franklin Dono from Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
We had Wilson Alvarez. He played for the Seahawks for a year. He was from Venezuela?
Bolivia or somewhere like
Bolivia.
that.
There it is, Bolivia. And then we had Mark Fritcher. Just the skill for those positions. People forget about special teams. Special teams you can't forget about it. You lose games with special teams. You win games with special teams. When it's all even, special teams are going to be the deciding factor. So you better have what you have. And I think that's one thing I see Southeastern. I think they have good special teams. Yeah. And that impresses me that somebody cares enough about that. You watch it. You watch some teams. They're not very good on special teams, some of them. And I don't know why, because, you're in college. You're playing this game. Do it. And I was always that guy that said, hey, all you do is kick. So make it. All you do is punt. Boom it. Put it down at the 1. And, if they didn't, I guess you had something to say to them. But we had such good ones that it was impressive. It was impressive now when I think back on it. But it was a good time. I'll
tell you, it's good stuff. I know we could talk forever, but great catching up.
Thank y'all.
Absolutely. We want to continue doing more of this. I keep talking about, bridging that gap. You had the 17, 18-year gap when, football was dropped, it was brought back, and a lot of folks today just don't know these stories and don't know about the past, and we want to share them while we can, and just appreciate you coming on. And
thank y'all for having me. Robbie, thank you, bud.
All right, bud.
Absolutely. Don't be a stranger.
Always am, but I'll be there. Y'all have a good night.
Mark Millet, everybody, former Lion great linebacker from 78 to 82.
Yep, you got it.
Oh, yeah. And
Mark, the best man at one of my weddings, I don't know if it was the first one or the second one, but he was the best man at one of my weddings.
So you tried to get in the head, and now he's your best man. That's the way this game works, isn't it?
Hey, sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do.
Mark Millet, everybody, one of the Lion legends. Glad to have you aboard, and we'll see you next time right here on the Southeastern Sports Network podcast.